Hi guys, today's video is about 5 things that should go in our garden and not our trash cans. I'm going to start with animal bones, and I apologize to any vegans out there, but this family does eat meat, and I just compile all the bones into the freezer, and when I have enough I put it either in the oven, but more likely I'll just throw it onto my barbecue, and as I cook other things they get charred, and I do this until they look like this and they just crumble into a powder, or you could even grind it into a powder and you have mineral rich biochar. And they do recommend not putting too much biochar into your soils, but the amount that a family of 3 produces is not very much. This is actually probably at least a month, maybe more, of bones. But at any rate, I just cook it down until it's pretty much a powder, and I do have to make sure that I turn it into biochar and not just put bones directly out, because I live in Maryland and we have actually had some eastern coyotes in the area, so as well as some other things like foxes and other predatory animals. You certainly don't want to be attracting those to your garden or your compost heap. But once they've been completely turned into this biochar, it's going to be easily crushed down, and it will no longer be attracting rodents or predators, like I said, and it will become minerals for your garden soil, or you could even add it to your compost. So this is one thing that never should go in the trash. The second item I'd like to talk about is paper. And there are so many forms that can be put in your garden. I shred all of our junk mail. I shred any brown paper bags. If you have a heavy-duty shredder, you could even shred your cardboard. I mostly rip mine up by hand. And but this actually makes a wonderful mulch. It's a fantastic source of carbon for the garden or for your compost pile. But if you shred it down in particular, you know, it's really going to break down pretty quickly in your soil and in your garden. And even if you've been recycling it, that's great, but it does take gas and resources to get it to these recycling centers. And then, you know, it's just extra gas that we don't have to be using, and extra pollutants to get it to the recycling centers. I just put everything in there. The only exception is you don't want glossy papers. They can be toxic, and if you're growing any vegetables, that is important. So I try to avoid things that have a lot of colorful print and also glossy finishes. But otherwise, once I take all the labels and tape off, everything, absolutely everything, goes into either my compost pile or I spread it out as mulch, and it saves me money. All these things are free. So this is one thing that definitely should not go in the trash. And I have spread lots of shredded paper all over my rustic bed, and by spring, when everything starts to come up and I plant new things in it, you won't even see any of this paper. The third item I'd like to talk about is eggshells, and I just did a whole video on how I process these. I microwave them so they dry out and any bad bacteria is killed, and then you can just crumple them up and put them directly in the garden or compost, or you can choose to grind it in a dedicated coffee grinder like I do. I have a whole video on that, but there's absolutely no reason these should end up in the trash when they can be providing calcium and other trace minerals to your plants. The other item that should never be put in a trash can or even sent off to a recycling center are branches. This branch is already half decomposed and it fell off of my tree, and I am constantly gathering up the twigs and branches that drop, and this is one of the reasons why trees are so important. Not only do they drop leaves, they drop a lot of wood. It's the wood drop in the forest that breaks down on the forest floor and creates that really rich forest soil. So why not use it in our gardens? And you can put it in your compost piles, you can break it up, put it right on your beds, and in a matter of time, some wood breaks down faster than others. It's all going to rot down and create this wonderful, loamy, rich soil. So guys, hang on to these, break them up, or even use them in a hugelkultur bed. This is something that should never, ever go in a truck and be transported elsewhere. It is a valuable resource in your garden. The other thing is any garden waste, with the exception of anything that might be diseased or have pests, I would put all of your garden waste. Any annual flowers that have died back should go in there. Any grasses you cut down, any grass you cut from your lawn, that should all go into compost piles or just be broken up and put directly on your soil. Food scraps. Here's a banana right here on my compost pile. This is pure potassium. And this is going to break down. Banana peels break down really quickly, but it is creating a nitrogen source here that's combining with the leaves and the paper that I have in here. And you need nitrogen and carbon both in your compost pile. But here's a piece of broccoli, and that's going to break down. So none of these things should end up in a trash can. They are all important nutrients for your garden. And you have to remember that nutrients are constantly being leached by rainfall and lots of other things, evaporation and sun bleaching. All kinds of nutrients are always being lost from the garden. And you know, if you add back to it and also keep things out of your trash can and out of the landfills, you are doing a great service to all of us. So guys, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you find these tips helpful. I think if we all put in our part, our gardens will be more beautiful and the world will be a better place. So thanks for being my friend in the garden, and I'll see you next time.